Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Hey, hey, hey to everyone watching this live. Hello, hello to everyone watching this on the replay. Do me a huge favor and say hello in the comments. I could see StreamYard's doing something funky, y'all. Or the system I use. I saw that you guys had comments saying hello, and the minute I pressed go live, just like last week, the comments all went away. So if you already said hello, you got to say it again. Otherwise, I won't know it. And my guest, Christa Shelton, won't know that you said hello either. So come on back, do it again. Hi, hi, hi. I know I saw Charles Setta and I saw my mom and I saw someone say something to Stephanie, but I didn't see if Stephanie was here. So I don't really know what's going on. Good morning. Good morning, Dee. Good morning, Junquette. Good morning, Stephanie is here. I'm so excited today to introduce you to Christa Shelton. She is my guest today. And if you're watching this from the future, you're going to get a lot of information today because Christa is a behavior change specialist and coach. Is that right?
That is correct. That is
Say hi
correct.
to everyone, Christa.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Hello. Good morning, Adelia and Jay and Sharon and BM Harris and Gershel. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. All right, let me read you Chris's bio because you know I don't like making stuff up. I do like making stuff up, but I also like being accurate. So let me read this one for once. Okay. Ooh, Christa is a behavior change specialist and coach and a former NASM certified personal trainer for over 9 years. Ooh. Um, she also has a background, performing arts background with a BA in theater arts. She carries a behavior change specialization from the American Council on Exercise. Okay. And in her coaching, she helps busy and high performing women reduce overwhelm and cultivate the best mindset and atmosphere to move towards their goals. She helps them identify small incremental changes necessary to help move the needle in an accessible and sustainable manner while also having fun along the way. At 47, she decided to take the plunge and move to Mexico City, where she's been happily living since July 2023. Now, I probably should have had you on as like my New Year's guest, right? Because we're talking behavior change, but let's get a jump start on it. Let's
Okay.
get a
Okay.
jump start on behavior change and creating
Yes.
a life intentionally abroad. Stephanie's going to talk about me, but I have my notebook and a pencil. I'm doing the Perry today. I'm here for my notes.
Okay.
I'm here.
I love
Okay,
it. I love it.
Christa. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about our good girl, Mexico City. You've been
Yes,
here since
absolutely.
July. What do you think? Tell me everything.
I listen. I am loving your face. I am loving my life here in Mexico City. And honestly, it has exceeded all of my expectations in every way. I mean, I knew when I made this decision that this was the decision I was supposed to make for my life. There was
Mhm.
no doubt. I had zero doubt that this is the path, this is where I'm supposed to be. There was no doubt about that. I had no idea, though, what was in store for my life since I've been here. And it's been nothing but it's been incredible, honestly.
Okay, so you saying these things that are kind of like general and positive. Give us some
Yes.
specific positives.
Well, okay. So I think, not I think, I know the thing that has been the best is the community that I've been able to build and become a part of. I have moved a lot in my life to different places. The first time I've lived abroad, but I've moved a lot in the States. So I'm not a stranger to being someplace and not knowing a lot of people and having to build and create community. So it's just been really nice that I've been able to do that here abroad. So the people, the friend groups that I have cultivated and created has just been so beautiful and wonderful and just has helped to really enhance the experience. I love also, I just love the city. I love Mexico City. I love the food. I love the culture. I feel welcomed here. In my experience, because everybody's experience is different, but in my experience, I have not felt othered, even though I know I am other, right? I haven't felt that way. I feel that, people have been very embracing to me. And that has just been the theme of my experience where I feel like it's just been a warm hug. I think that's the
Yeah,
best way to
yeah.
describe it.
Okay, that actually makes a lot of sense. I mean, every day I was thinking about being othered here.
Mhm.
And the
Mhm.
ways I tend to feel othered here are not the ways. It's the small things, right? Like for me, it's like I'm walking down the street and I give someone my best buenos dias, and they're with the good accent. I got the good accent, right? Um,
Yes, yes.
and they're like, "Hola," and I'm like,
Do you
"Why would
find
you treat? Why would you treat me like I'm not your cousin?
right, right, yes, yes.
Like I'm not from this land? How dare you?" Right? But like, I know why they're treating me, but it's like it's not like I'm being othered. Like, what are you doing here? It's like
Mhm.
the greeting is how you greet like they greet me like they greet a foreigner, and I'm like, what
Do
told
they? You find that to be your experience most of the time?
not I find it to be my experience a lot of the time that I get a hola
Okay.
instead of the buenos dias.
Huh.
So now
Okay.
now there's a lot of buenos dias. I think it's like
Mhm.
for me it's like 50-50. And because it bothers me, I notice it. Why are you hola
Mm.
me when you're not hola him?
Right.
But
Right.
like the ways I've been othered in other places, like this is such a minor, tiny thing. But I take it personally. Like I'm out here working on my Spanish and you're
Right.
treating me like a gringo fresh off the boat.
Right.
Ew, right?
Okay, but is it oh but Rashida though, my question is like when they're saying oh, like is it
Uh-huh.
hola like with no enthusiasm? Like do you
No,
because
no, no, no.
because I know
Like they don't say hola to each other here.
okay. Yes,
So it
okay.
doesn't matter how much enthusiasm you got behind it. Like I get the
Okay.
nicest and warmest olas, but like
Okay. Okay. That is very interesting. I hope that situation improves for you.
it won't. I'm always gonna be a black girl, right? Like someone's always going to assume that I'm new here. Like I remember I was walking down the street once and I was speaking. I knew this doorman started a quick, hello, how you doing, whatever, going by.
Yes.
And as I'm like passing him, he says, "Welcome to Mexico," and I'm like, I've been here for a year. Like when does
Right.
that stop? For me,
Right.
and probably
Yeah.
for you, it's never going to stop. You're always going to
Right.
assume to be, especially in a city that has a growing tourist population
Mhm.
number, right? It's the
Mhm.
tourism here is growing because when I moved here 5 years ago, there's pretty much not no tourism, but very, very
Mhm.
little.
Yeah.
So as it
Yeah.
grows, people see you and they assume you just got here. And my
True.
point is that there's no amount of time I'm going to be able to be here where someone's going to be like, oh yeah, like the people in my neighborhood know me, but like
Mhm.
other neighborhoods are always going to assume you just got
Mhm.
here for 3 days.
Mhm.
I walked into a nail place once and I got the frequent buyer card because I had a frequent user card. My
Mhm.
second time there, I got the frequent person card. And
Yeah.
the lady was like, "You live here?" And I'm like, "I've been here for 2 appointments. I've made a third." Like, yes.
Wow.
I know it blows
Okay.
your mind, but yes.
Right.
But it's like I said, it's not othering in that harmful way or that
Yes.
like like a negative. It's not negative. It's of all the different ways I could be othered, it's kind of neutral. Like it's not like
Mhm.
they're being mean
Mhm.
to me because I'm not from here. It's
Right.
it's
Yeah.
the little things that say like, "Are you're not from around here," and I'm like, "How do you know?"
Right. Now, listen, I think that's valid. I've never really paid attention to that though, like if how they're greeting me, like the Ola
Mm,
Buenos Dias. But however, you're right about all the time I do get, like if I'm in an Uber or if I'm out, they don't automatically assume they live here. I live here. They are asking, how long
yes.
you been in the city? Or, they don't, it's never an automatic, how long you've been living here. It's after we've started talking, then they ask that question.
Yeah. And and that like I said, that Ola thing is real. Like that's a real specific I notice it
Yeah.
thing. You know what I mean? That you may have never
Mhm.
noticed. So I hope I didn't ruin this for you
No,
now.
you did.
But
You
like
didn't.
I'll hear
You
someone
didn't.
like speaking to someone and give someone walking by me a buenos dias and then give me a hola. And I'm like,
Yeah,
what
I've
are
never
we
noticed
doing
that.
here?
Yes.
Um,
Yeah, I've never noticed that. I
yeah.
haven't. But no, you have
But
not ruined anything.
but I do think in a way, it's an attempt to be kind, because they probably think all the Spanish we know is hola, right? Like, and adios. They probably think that's, so they're trying to be helpful and kind, but I'm like,
yeah, let me make this short and sweet for you. Let me tell you, when I first came here to do my scouting trip, and I call myself, always entering the room, speaking as much Spanish as I know, all, ready. You know how many times people kindly will say to me, be like, do you speak English?
Yes.
like,
and listen,
we don't have to do this.
Listen, they're like, we don't need to struggle. But listen, if I'm struggling, especially if it's something like it needs to be exact, like I'm in an airport, I don't quite understand what we're talking about, give me the English. But most times I'm like, unless you need to practice your English, let me practice my Spanish. Like, come on.
Exactly.
I know, I've been in a restaurant with Adelia and had them, like, we kept speaking to the waiter in Spanish, and our restaurant Spanish is good. So we're ordering correctly in Spanish and he's responding in English. And I'm like, no matter what we said in Spanish, he was always responding. And he's a Spanish speaker because he's helping everybody else in Spanish. Would always respond to us in English. And that's the othering that I experience. Like, even when I'm giving you, we're looking at each other like, that was the right, you used the right word. I was using the right tenses. We're ordering.
Yes.
Like, that's the othering where I'm like, what's going on here? But it's so generally non-offensive compared to, like I said, to other places that I'm like, it's okay. Pisces Pret, actually, I want to correct something you said, Pisces Pret. You said, wow, that not being seen or remembered sounds a lot like dealing with those other people. No. Let's back this up for a second. I don't want this to be the impression you walk away with. They see us and they remember us. They see us. It's when I'm in a neighborhood where I'm not from. In my neighborhood, every vendedor, everybody, every waiter, every person selling something on the street, every doorman, every driver, every police officer knows my face. Because they don't get that yes every time I walk, and a smile every time I walk by. Everybody in my neighborhood knows me. Except the people who live here. I don't care about them. It's the people who are running on the street that I care about. I was at my Spanish class the other day, and this woman had run this crafts event, and she we painted faces for Dia de Muertos on these empty bottles that they got for us, and we painted skeleton faces, calaveras, and I painted mine, and there may have been 40 that were painted. And she saw me in the room, got a little cheek kiss, whatever. She got up on her stage. She's doing her thing. She's got a written thing. She's written remarks. She's off the written remarks. And she thanks 2 people out of 40 for painting things. And I was one of them. And I was like, that's that Black girl. Like,
yeah, that's right.
She don't remember y'all.
I love it.
I am the only Black woman here. And she remembers me. She don't, y'all?
Right.
Interchangeable.
Right.
Listen, I walked into, and I gotta let you start talking. I'm so sorry. I'm on a tangent. This is one of my tangents. I walked into I stayed at a hotel once. It was St. Regis. I was on a little work thing. It was real fancy. And then I walked back. I went back there maybe like 3 months later, and the doorman was like, "You're back." It's a hotel. It's 3 months later, and he was like, "Hi, you're back. How are you doing?" I said, "Yes." Yeah.
Yes. No, that's very true.
Pisces Pret said it was the nail salon example. No, they remembered me. They just didn't believe that no matter how many times I kept coming back, that I lived here and wasn't just visiting, right? So second appointment, they were like, I guess she's been here for like 2 weeks. When I asked for the card and got the third, that's when they were like, wait a minute, what are you doing? They remembered me. It's like the thought that like, I'm not going to be here for just a month or less.
Right. Like you're here.
You're here.
Like trying to get them to like wrap their heads around that part.
Oh, they remember us.
Yes.
New Life Creator says, apparently my Spanish accent is such that they can't tell where I'm from. I always get the 60 mile per hour Spanish, but my ears don't hear.
Listen.
Yes. And you tell them to slow down. What do they say? What do they say, Christa, when you tell them to slow down? What do they do? What do they do?
I don't know. What do they do?
Nothing. They keep going just as fast.
That's And that has not been our experience. When I ask
They slow down
them
for you?
to slow down, they slow down. Or when I tell them like I'm that again, I don't know, but they slow down. I don't know if it's because I look so pitiful or I sound so pitiful when I'm asking. I don't know what it is, but they will like slow down and try to work me, maybe try to throw some English in there. That's yeah.
Okay, so I don't know if it's because things are changing over time, and I haven't had to ask people to slow down that much as my Spanish gets better.
Yes.
But usually, in my experience, and this is from like the past few years. So like I said, I haven't had to slow down recently, but
Yes.
they usually go just as fast, or they like find someone else to speak to me. Like, come on, just come on. She can't. She got it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, my mom and my nephew and my stepfather are in here. Hi.
Is that George and Miles?
Yes.
Hi, family. Okay, so actually, let's get back to you real quick. Sorry about that.
That's Rashida.
Actually, Royal says, "Is it that they don't want you to live there, but instead want you to be a tourist?" What do you think? What is your take on that?
Ooh, that's a very good question. And I honestly think it would depend upon who you ask. I have spoken to some locals and asked them that question. Like once they do find out that I live here, a couple of people I've just asked straight up, how do you feel about, a lot of foreigners coming in? And I've gotten the responses I've gotten have been more around like if you're here and you are making a point to integrate and try to learn the language, then they don't have a problem with it. The people I've spoken to, again, I think this is a very loaded question, and like I said, I feel like you will get different answers based upon who you speak to. But I do think that it is how you enter into a space and how you carry yourself, and I think that a lot of times people that come here unfortunately come with a sense of entitlement and that people are supposed to bend to their will, and that's, I think, just creates more of that friction that I think doesn't have to exist if people would realize that they are coming like, I live here, but I still act as if I'm a guest in the way in which I interact with people, how, like I said, I'll enter into spaces. And so I think that is really, at least in my experience, what has been the divide between how people feel about foreigners being here.
Are you on Twitter?
I'm not. Mm-mm.
Okay, so there's this like very common saying on Twitter that Twitter's not real life, right? And in a lot of ways, like what you see online about people living in Mexico, especially over the past few years, about foreigners moving to Mexico is not real life. Like it's just not. Like all of that, like, foreigners go home, we don't want you here. These abuelas, they love me. Like I know.
Right.
The other day, I got a weird look from a woman on a bus, and it was so like jarring that the woman next to me was like, "Look at her. She looked like what?"
Wow.
But I don't know. Now I had a big thing of flowers with me. I don't know if it was. She could. There was no interaction between us that could have led to that. So I always assume, well, you're just having a bad day. That ain't got nothing to do with me. And like that look is just a look you've given everybody, but I see it when you're looking at me, right?
Right.
You haven't. Other than that, it's always like I'm always getting the hellos, the warmth. I'm always getting the warmth, and I just feel like as someone who y'all have decided is not from here,
right,
on the surface, right? If I'm always getting the warmth, everyone who's not walking around like an ugly American is probably getting the warmth too, right? And so all of that chatter online of like Mexicans don't want you. I always say it's not all Mexican. Like if there are probably a subset of Chilangos who don't want us here, but those are the ones we're competing with resources for, right? Like the ones who would be renting my apartment if I wasn't in it are the ones who don't want me here. And I'm sorry, based on the rent I'm paying, I don't really care. In the sense that like I'm not, and that doesn't mean that I'm paying like some crazy expensive rent, but I'm paying what is higher than what a lot of people pay. But I have a nicer apartment than a lot of people have. I rent from an individual Mexican woman. She owned it, right? There's that. The number of my point is that the amount of people who don't want us here is a very, very small, but very, very vocal group. And so they don't really
that part.
small but
That
vocal.
part.
The rest of the people, they're not here. They're not here.
Yeah, like I said, I really feel like it's been a warm hug since I've been here. I've not felt people I've interacted with, people I speak to, people I've had this conversation with. That's the feedback.
Yeah.
And I just feel generally people move places, right? That's not going to change. It happens here, it happens in the state, it happens everywhere. That's always going to be a thing. And there's always going to be a feeling where there are going to be some people like, why are you here? Right. But like, if we base our movement and what we do in our lives based upon, like you said, that small subset, then we won't go anywhere. We won't do anything. And so I feel like if you move with the best intention in your life, that's all you can do.
And your actions reflect your intentions.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And your impact. And the impact reflects your intentions. Yes.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, right? Like anybody on this planet that can afford to pay my rent is not someone who's going to be homeless if I'm paying this rent. Right. And it's not an outrageous number, but it's not like, it's also not $1 a day, right? Like, it's not like I'm forcing people out of their homes or I changed the market price. I'm paying lower than my landlord wanted, right? But it was on the market. I'm paying 5 years in, I'm paying less than my landlord asked for when it was on the market because I negotiated really hard. And so it's like, it's not like I'm not raising the rent in the neighborhood. In fact, I lowered it, right? Like I'm not gentrifying.
Right.
When the Halloween party, and we're going to talk about this, when the Halloween party on Thursday night was still going on at 3 a.m., and I could hear it in my apartment, which means, just FYI, there's no apartment on this side, but on that side, there's an apartment. They were not having a Halloween party, which means it was either coming from above or below, and it was still loud enough for me to hear the voices.
Wow.
I felt security. I went back to sleep. I am not causing problems in the neighborhood.
That part.
Right?
Exactly.
So, like, it's a delicate dance, but it's, if you want freedom of movement, it's a dance you have to dance. You got to get on the dance floor. High Vibe said something I want to address too, and then we're going to get back to behavior change, I swear.
Okay, listen, I can talk about this in Mexico City all day, honestly.
I love it.
Honestly.
Okay, so High Vibe says, I feel like the go home protest is not directed at Black Americans. I don't want to. Right. I don't think so.
I do. The people I've talked to, like I said, the conversations I've had, there's been direct quotes to me about this.
So, yes, but the people you are talking to are not the people being loud and rude on the internet.
Also true.
I think the people who loudly, in Spanish class this week, my Spanish teacher, who's by looks a little indigenous, don't know much about her background, whatever, brought up the term whitexicans. And no one else in the class had ever heard it before. So she was explaining it. And she was like, it's someone like a Mexican who appears white and has money. Do you think white Mexicans with money want to compete with Black people from anywhere for any resources? For anything? What could be worse? Who do they not want to get the apartment they want, or be at the table in the coffee shop that they want to be in? Is it other people who look just like them? It's not. Because a lot of them. This is such a random tangent video, but I went to a hairdresser here once, and he was like, a lot of the women here do not care about their cuts. They only care about the color. They want to be blonde. right? Because like proximity to whiteness is important here as it is everywhere else on this planet, right?
I was gonna say that's everywhere.
And if the
Yes.
proximity to whiteness is important, who is worse taking up space that you want, right? The white person or the Black person. I'm not going to say that it's intentionally targeted towards Black people, because I think the majority of people don't care. But the people who are loud and rude on the internet, it's not, they're not white people go home, Black people you can stay. That's not them. There may be people here who think that, but it's not the ones who are very vocal about it, or the ones who crawl in my inboxes. Slow down. Slow down before you get cussed out. We don't need to do this.
I never thought about that.
It's whiteness. Whiteness, you know what I mean? Like, if all you want to do is be blonde, what am I doing in a space you want to be in? Why are you in line behind me to be in this bakery, right? When I'm further away from the goal than you are.
Yeah, I honestly never thought about it that way. But to be honest, like I said a few minutes ago, I also don't spend a lot of time thinking about it. You know what I'm saying? I think that's also the part too, is that because I can't base my life on that.
Right.
Because like you said, the anti-Black sentiment is not, that's pervasive.
It's not.
It's everywhere.
It's not. Right.
You know?
Michelle says, I think not all of the people being loud and rude on the internet aren't even in Mexico. Definitely. There are people who will show up loud and rude on the internet who were in Boston. But there was one guy who was like, well, how dare you say anything negative about my parents' country? The one I live in right now, and you're not in? That's cute, right? Yeah. Like,
there will always be chatter. Always.
But to your point, the people that I encounter on the street are, I'm not even gonna say 9 times out of 10. I'm gonna say at least 98% of the time, super friendly, super courteous, super warm. And whether that's how they would respond behind my back, I don't know. I don't care. It ain't none of my business. In my face, you're warm and lovely and you want me here.
Yes.
Behind my back, if that's not how you truly feel, that's a you problem, not a me problem, right? Because you're giving me the signs that my presence here is welcome. So if that's not how you truly feel,
right?
I can't read your mind. I'm not reading your diary. I'm not coming into your house and listening, right? Like
exactly. Exactly. Like I said, we can't, like in any iteration of life, base our movements upon that. If you're courteous, if you're kind to me, to my face, that's all I can go on. And what's happening outside that, like you said, is none of my business.
It makes me think you want me here. I'm welcome. If that's not the case, what shall I do? Right?
Right. Exactly.
What has been your least favorite thing about being here?
Ooh. Somebody asked me this question recently, and I had to search. And I think I'm still searching.
Really?
For an answer about this. My least favorite thing. I mean, listen, the air quality is not great. But
can I say real quick? You don't even know this after a few years. I think my second winter here hit me hard, and I had to get a dehumidifier and a filter. I don't even notice it now. Like if I leave my door open all day, I'll turn my humidifier on, but otherwise, it's just bad.
Yeah. No, the air quality is not great, but I also lived in Los Angeles for decades. Right. So air quality is not great there either. So I guess I just love cities that don't have a great air quality.
Mild weather and terrible air. Sign Christa.
You know what I'm saying? Like it just must be part of my criteria. But I would say that's not the best. As far as anything else, I feel like it's more so adjustments versus my least favorite thing, because I feel too, I researched coming here. And so I also felt like I knew or had an idea of what I was walking into. So things that are different for me in terms of, because, okay, for example, a lot of people would say, they would talk about the noise here in Mexico City, that it is a very loud city. But to me, hearing that, I was like, well, yes, like, of course it would be, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a Mexico City. I don't anticipate that it would be quiet, you know? And so the types of sounds of the city, I think, are also part of what brings its charm for me. And so I think that so I would say that it's not something that's like my least favorite, but it was an adjustment in terms of like the types of noise, the types of sounds that you hear and when you hear them, you know, or when things happen. Or this is a good example, construction was happening recently in front of my building. They were paving the roads, which is an amazing thing. That's a great thing. People want good roads to ride on, but the construction happened at midnight, from midnight to like 3 or 4 in the morning.
Yes.
And I was like, I don't understand this. What do you mean that there's construction
because the
happening
cars need to drive in the daytime, girl.
So that recently was definitely not on my bingo card and something that I liked. But again, it's like, well, this is what they do, and this is how they do it, and you just gotta just roll with it.
I had a marching band come down my street at 3 a.m. one day, drums and all. And the reason I knew something, like, I was like, I'm dreaming. And I was like, that percussive beat says I am not dreaming. Full band down the street, 3 a.m.
Yes.
Now what? And there was nobody else. I ain't see no saints. I ain't see no robes. I ain't see nobody carry nothing. There were no It was just it wasn't Dia de anybody.
Right.
It was just a unexplained
Right.
band at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
What is y'all? You know what? I'm never gonna know what this was. I'm just gonna go back to bed because there's no.
That's all you could do. And so I was, like I said, I was not happy about it in the moment, but I was very grateful that in my building had double pane windows. So and it was not in the heat. It was
fancy. Okay.
It was not in the summertime. So I wasn't going to melt by closing my windows.
Mm-hmm.
So I just closed the windows, and then the loud construction became more of a whisper.
You can sleep with your windows open?
Oh yeah, I have to. I'm in perimenopause.
I
have to.
But the noise outside. The noise outside.
No. Those windows and 2 fans have to be blowing on me at all times.
Okay, so I don't. Either we have a different level of noise, or we can sleep through different things. Because even with I can hear I always call it the ambulances, but since there are only like 3 ambulances in the whole city, I know it's not the ambulance. So it's probably the police. I always hear the police outside. Mm-hmm. And I'm high up enough, but I should not be hearing them. Mm-hmm. I can hear they play soccer on a field that is a block away from my building. Mm-hmm. My apartment's in the 20s of floor levels.
Okay.
I hear those men playing soccer with my door closed.
Wow.
My mom was here once and I was like, I hate this. I hate hearing men be happy like this. Because be happy out there. Why are you hollering into my... I was inside like, what's going on? What is that? I look outside, y'all. All this holleration is about soccer. And now there's hateration in my dancery. Because what are we...
Right.
I'm a block away and over 20 floors up, and I can hear you playing soccer.
Listen, you got to lean into it.
And sometimes I do, but there's sometimes where there are times where like just men just hollering in my home. Why are all these men hollering in my home? It's usually when I don't know what the noise is, where I'm like, I don't like this. I don't.
Right.
And it's not, but it's not like that. I'm going to complain. It's not
that's the part. I would never and this is and I'm on record right now saying that me raising these things is also not a complaint. It
It's
really is
not.
not.
It just is what it
It
is.
just is.
It just is what it is. It's loud. I don't understand how sound carries in the city compared to other cities. I'm here for it. I am.
Yes.
What do y'all, what, all that joy, all that male joy inside of my personal space? You.
Yeah. You gotta lean into it. Maybe you should just go down one day. Have you been to the actual mat, like gone down, like to see for yourself?
First of all,
or to be a spectator.
First of all, the place where they're playing is in a school, and me stepping foot in the school just not gonna happen.
Okay.
I just FYI, that's fair. Not gonna happen. However, there was a party that was underneath a freeway on ramp that I was walking by I was walking home. I'd walked for 7 hours that day. I was doing some work that took me walking around the city. I'd walk for 7 hours. My watch was dead. I was exhausted. Phone was about to be dead. Legs killing me. But as I'm walking home, I hear a party under the freeway on ramp, and it's loud enough that I can hear it from 4 blocks away as I'm approaching. I walk up. I step inside. There's multiple bands. There are tables. There are people selling beer. I stepped 2 feet inside, and someone was like, "Come on in and sit down." But it's nothing but families at tables. And I was like, it was pretty much like join any family you want.
But I love that.
If I wasn't exhausted, I would have stayed. Also, if I realized that this party 3 blocks away, I would hear in my apartment, I might have stayed. I got inside and I was like, I can hear every note of that band on stage. I might as well be down there. But yeah, no, I don't know. That's the thing. Okay, so I also feel a little bit like this about a city where I don't speak the language fluently. I speak enough to get by, but not fluently. I don't know what we're celebrating. I don't know who you people are. I don't know who's allowed to be here and who's not allowed to be here. And this isn't a Mexico City thing. It's a Rashida thing. As someone who grew up in a city with a lot of gang violence, I'm not likely to sit down and drinking with people, strangers, if I have no idea if I can't decipher what's going on and you're not my people, unlikely to just come in and sit down without understanding more. Now, is that going to be safer here than it would have been where I lived growing up? Probably. It's probably safer. No one's dying in a drive-by here, right? Like, it's fine. But, like, it's
just one of those something that you've carried with you.
It's something that I've carried with me over the years where I was like, oh, this looks like fun. I'm going home. Thank you. But it was like, I literally just it was an open area under the freeway underpass, like a public space. But it's usually locked up. So I don't know who got it open. There were a lot of questionable things happening. Like, this is a locked up space under a freeway underpass that is now open. Where we tables and chairs. And it looks like it's normally a storage yard for something. Those things aren't here. There are tables and chairs. There's a stage. There's a van with dancers changing in it. Everybody's sitting down. Whose party is it?
Right. So you have, I understand. You need to know the answers to these questions. So even though it was lovely to receive an invitation,
it was.
You were like, okay,
Also, if I wasn't so tired
when you get home, like you said,
3 blocks away, and I was like, oh. Music is jamming though. If I wasn't so tired, I might have stayed, but tired and even if I didn't bring what I brought with me, this is still kind of sketchy because I pass that underpass every day. I've never seen people in here before, and I've been here 5 years. I've never seen people in there before. There's a little bit of sketchiness happening here. I was like, oh,
you need more information.
I need more information.
Gotcha.
Like I stuck my head in, and the man was like, why are you standing at the door, girl? Go in.
Right. I love the invitation, though.
There was food. I was like,
I love the invitation. Welcoming.
Which family shall I go sit with? Right? Like, are you all related? I have no idea.
You know, like I said, that part, the warm hug of it all that we
Right,
get.
but is this like a business gathering? Like, you know what I mean? Like, is it a company
Yeah.
gathering or a birthday party or
Yes.
grandma's repast? I have no idea what's happening
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Listen, I
under the
understand.
freeway
I
underpass.
understand. Wanting to know more information, especially with the language barrier, is a
But
fair point.
the warm hug, it's always there.
Yes. Always.
It sounds like Mexico is fun. It's fun in both, but like I think fun is too one dimensional, right? It's complex. It's a lot of work sometimes. Um, but overall, I think for a lot of people, it's worth it, right?
Absolutely. I absolutely. And like we said, I mean, all of these things, it's always going to be your own experience,
Mhm.
your own opinion, and everyone's varying. Everybody's experience, the things that people, each individual focuses on is always going to be different, you know, and that's going to color how they feel about being here. And I think it's definitely well worth it for me. And I would say that I think that it's fun. I definitely
Yeah,
have it. And even with all of these things that we're discussing, again, they just are. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
They just
there's
are.
are.
And we choose to be here and continue to, and especially for you, Rashida, for being here for the amount of time you've been here.
Yeah.
It's a choice you're continually making. And I think that in itself speaks volumes.
It does. I think it does. And yes, it is a lot. There are a lot of times where I'm like, this is such an amazing city. Like this time, Dia de Muertos, meow.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say this. I'm not encouraging y'all to come at this time. Please. Christy, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not saying that Dia de Muertos is a time to visit the city, but I'm saying that if you're here, it's a good time.
You just happen to be here. Don't
If,
come. You happen to be, Rashida said,
or
you just happen to be here.
if
Just
you're here for
walk
like
in
the
the
month of
door.
October, great. If you're coming for like half of October and half of November, even like 2 weeks, don't show up for like these 4 days. It's not, you're not going to get the city at its best. You get a lot of tourists, right? You're going to be competing for space with a lot of tourists. The city gets really, really full. It's also around F1. F1 is right before or after Dia de Muertos every year. And the city gets very, very expensive during F1. All them hotel rooms you want to be in so you can come, those people booked those last year, right? Like gone. Um, it's if you come for the parade don't parade like you want it to, just FYI. And there are more humans there than you've ever seen anywhere in your life. Like it's just like it's not. I think as someone who lives here and is here during this time, it's a fun time to be in the city. But I think the things that I would do as a tourist, I would want to do if I came as a tourist, I don't even do. Like I'm not going to the parade. Someone said, "Oh, you can go to parades here," and I was like, "Oh, but I won't." Like I've done it once. Did you do it? Did you go this year?
No, I didn't go last year, and I didn't go this year. I'm good on a whole concentrated group of people. Like I don't need. I went down to the Zocalo
Uh-huh.
on Thursday night so I could take in all the installations and
Okay, I went
be a
Friday night.
part of that.
Yeah.
And I'm good. I
Good.
don't have to see
Good.
the parade. I don't want to have to figure out getting there, getting out, going. I have no interest in
Mm-mm.
doing any of that.
And I think that people don't, no matter how many times we say this, people don't understand what it's like to go to the biggest parade in a city with 23 or more million people. Like it's absolute
Wow.
chaos. It's
Right. Adelia is saying there's 1.3
1.3
million
million
people.
people
Oh my
parade.
goodness.
And now you show up 3 hours early, you still can't see because there were 6 rows of people or more ahead of you by the time you got there, right? Like,
Yeah. No. And again, somebody else might think that's that they like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, do the things that feel good to you.
Mhm.
I just no.
Yeah.
And you could walk around the city during this time and
Yes.
see so many installations, see
So many
so
beautiful
many
things, so many
ofrendas,
ofrendas
and
that
so,
are
I mean,
gorgeous.
it's
Or
everywhere. It's everywhere.
yes. I went to Mercado Jamaica on Wednesday.
I heard it's
Chill.
beautiful there right now.
It's always beautiful there, but I went maybe
Yeah.
4 years ago, same day on about the same day, like day before Halloween or on Halloween, I can't remember. And it took me 2 hours sitting in an Uber to get there. It was, and it's like a 30-minute drive. It was insane. So this year I took the train or I took the bus.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me 2 hours to get there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because traffic is so bad. Adelia left and I left. She left the same time I did.
Mm-hmm.
And she got home, I want to say, in like 30 minutes. And it took me like 2 hours. Train versus
Wow.
bus, just the traffic.
Wow. Yeah, that's another thing. You're never gonna know. Like, I always give myself the most time possible, even if I know I'm going somewhere close, depending upon what time I'm going. Again, I will say that the city, what it has done for me was to help me release my need for control,
Mm-hmm. Ooh.
and being more flexible about things,
Mm-hmm.
because there are so many variables that change and shift, that it requires you to, I think, or at least for myself, it has definitely required me be to have to release some of my type A tendencies and to really kind of just lean in and go more with the flow. I would say that is a lesson I've been learning here.
Can you talk more about what releasing those tendencies has looked like what you used to do that you don't do anymore?
I think it's just that, like, when you think about like things that you just cannot control and how you respond to that. I think before, like, getting, upset or trying to find, a solution in the minute to fix it. Like the other night, like what I was saying, when the construction was happening in the middle of the night, before, you know, at the state, I'm like, whose number can I call? Who can I file a complaint with so that this doesn't, all of the things. And I'm not necessarily saying that that's, I don't want to say that I'm painting that as a necessarily bad way to be in certain instances, when you want to allow people, when you want someone to know what's happening and try to find a different solution. But I think that it was in that moment, it was like, okay, there's nothing I can do about this. Be grateful that I can close these windows and it's not going to disturb me as much. So finding the gratitude in those spaces rather than getting up in arms about the fact that I can't control the situation to make it different. It's going to continue until they're done with this job. So I can be in this and be upset and want to control it, or I can just lean and say, this is what it is, and be grateful for what I have to handle it while it's happening. So I
Mm-hmm.
think it's that. I think it's framing, right? I
Mm-hmm.
think that's what it is. It's how you frame things. And I think that's just in general in life, how we frame things really is indicative upon how we go through things, how we meet moments, how we deal with experience, how we deal with annoyances. It comes down to that. And I think, like I said, for myself, being a type A type of person that wants certain things a certain way and at a certain time, that being here has helped me loosen that. And I think that was also part of the reason. I think it's also part of the reason why my spirit led me here, was because it wasn't just about wanting to live abroad and live in Mexico City. It was also about my evolution, my continued evolution as a woman, as a person, and how I want to show up and meet moments. And this city has been a really great teacher in that for me.
How did you select Mexico City as your teacher?
So I I think that I believe that Mexico City selected me.
Ooh.
And I say that just because I just being someone who's a very spirit-led person in general, that it was just supposed to be. I didn't know this, obviously, going in initially. Like, in my mind, I knew that I wanted to live abroad. It was always something that was dancing around in my mind for some years. Love House Hunters International, one of my favorite shows. And I would just be watching that and just be like, why am I here in the States? Like, look at life someplace else. Like I would just be saying that. And that was, for some years. And then the pandemic hit. As you mentioned, I was a personal trainer. And when the pandemic came, my business shifted to virtually. So I was training my clients virtually, thankfully. And then it was like, okay, I finally have this part of my dream realized where I wanted to be able to work from wherever. And then, once I started to really think more seriously about moving, I was living in Los Angeles at the time. Like I said, my family, I'm from the East Coast. I grew up in the Washington, D.C. area and Northern Virginia and Maryland. And I didn't want to be further away from my family than I already was living in Los Angeles, but I knew I wanted to live abroad. And so Mexico just felt like that was a good place to be. And then I just kept hearing murmurings about Mexico City. It just kept coming up in conversation, or I had friends visiting here. And I was like, what is it about Mexico City? Like all of a sudden, it just seemed like it was a city that was on everybody's lips. And so once I started researching and once I realized, okay, I can now make this move, that's when I was looking at Mexico and then Mexico City in particular and started doing research, came across you, came across Adelia, came across Stephanie, and I really just started doing a deep dive. And once I got more information, I started feeling drawn to it. It was one of those things that was like, yeah, like pay more attention to this, like really look into this. And then once I did and really felt like in my spirit, like, okay, yeah, this could be a viable option for me, is when I came to do a scouting trip. And it was only like 4.5, 5 days. And I knew, it was like one of those things. It was really on the last day. And I thought coming for that scouting trip, I was going to get off the plane and it was going to be like, ah, like I felt like this, like, oh, you're going to know right away. And it wasn't. It was a gradual build, but it was that last day I was getting ready to leave. And I was getting some food for the plane. And there was this woman, I could tell that she's not from here, but I could see myself in her, meaning I was like, I could see my life here. And I felt it. I felt it very, very strongly. And that was all I needed, after the research I'd already done, and then coming here with, my feet on the ground and experiencing it solo and feeling how comfortable I felt and how at home I felt. I got back to LA and continued my research and preparation to come. And that's really just kind of how it came to be.
Okay. I always feel like I need to say this when people talk about how much they love the city and I'm on the internet, I got to say, some of y'all gonna hate it, right? Like, this is not, do not, I came here, I moved here because ever since the first time I came, it was like the vibes are immaculate. The vibes are immaculate. I love it. Me, Rashida loves it. Christa loves it. Some of y'all gonna come here and be like, get me the hell out of here as soon as possible. I have a friend who was here once, visited. She had a layover, like a day layover, maybe not like a 24-hour, but like just a morning to night layover. And I was riding with her to the airport, and she was like, "I need to leave the city as soon as possible." She's like, "I can't." She lives in. It was actually Coach Tish. She was living in Playa at the time, and she was like, "I need to get out of here as soon as possible. Like, take me. Like, I need to get to the airport." Some of y'all gonna hate this place. Do not think because like I run a channel where I talk about Mexico City a lot. I have people on the channel who love Mexico City, that you're automatically going to love it.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. Again, you have, like with anything, anybody's experience, you have to take things with a grain of salt and you have to see for yourself. Everybody's experience is individual. Absolutely. Absolutely. That is so true.
Some of you listen, because it is a city that inspires strong feelings. Most people aren't neutral about it. Most people aren't like, oh yeah, I went, it was fine. Most people are like, I love it, or I don't ever have to go back. People feel that way about the airport. I love the airport. I love that airport.
I've never heard him really talk about the airport much.
Oh, I know so many people who were like, I hate it. It is the worst airport. Laila is always saying, I hate that airport.
Really? Okay.
Well, does it like you? Did you ever ask the airport if it likes you? No, I'm kidding, girl. But people feel strong. I feel strongly about the Guadalajara airport.
Okay, so I've never been to Guadalajara.
Strongly.
Okay.
But then again, I have not flown through there since probably 2016. After about one time, I was like, I will not be doing that again.
Okay.
But now that was before I understood how Mexican airports work.
Mm.
I didn't understand not having a gate until like until boarding time.
Again,
So
this is
like
what I'm
my type
saying.
A personality is like, what's happening? Where am I supposed to? What? Now
This is what
I'm
I'm
in the airport.
saying.
Like,
This is
absolutely,
what I mean
it's
about
fine.
relinquishing.
It's
You,
fine.
it's literally, it makes you
It's
just be
fine.
like, it's fine. Like
It's fine.
it's going to be.
Once you understand that this is the way
Mm-hmm.
it is, and it's not going to
Mm-hmm.
change because you don't like it,
Right.
welcome.
Right.
Welcome, right? Like, listen,
Absolutely.
Guadalajara, I was like, oh, Guadalajara may also. And now some of this there may have been things said and I didn't understand because my Spanish isn't as good as it is now. But I wasn't the only person in this position. So I don't think enough things were said because there were other people other Spanish speakers who were in the same position as I was. They boarded the plane from the front and the back, but it wasn't clear that they were doing that. So they just like sent you to a line, right?
Mm,
And so
mm.
some people in the back were boarded in the front, some people in the front were boarded in the back. And so we're crossing each other with our luggage in that narrow airplane line. I have never experienced that anywhere in the world.
I've never
And I
experienced
wasn't
that
like, I'm
either.
crossing, I'm in the wrong line, but I'm not the only person in the wrong line. So it wasn't a me thing.
Wow. I've never
We're all
experienced that
passing
either.
each other in the aisle, trying to pass with luggage in the aisle. What are we doing
Yeah.
here? It wasn't
Yeah.
like if you're in this number going this aisle, this number or back going this aisle, or this number forward going. No,
Mm-hmm.
people in the front, they were just like, go in this line, go in this line, go on, and we would go.
Yeah. Yeah. That listen. That's something. Like I said, that's a new one on me.
Girl, I was like, never again Guadalajara. And I have not flown through there since, ever. Leave
Okay,
me out
listen,
of it.
that's a lot. It's a
Leave me
lot.
out of it.
That's a lot. Listen,
Celeste
knowing your
says, what do you do if
boundaries.
you don't know what gate to be at? I actually love this question because I think it's one of the reasons people hate the airport. You sit down somewhere. You sit in a lounge. You sit at a restaurant. Places full of restaurants. You sit anywhere, not at a gate because you ain't got a gate, right? When you finally get a gate, and if it's Air Mexico, they're not going to tell you in the app. So check the board or check Google. Google will know before the Air Mexico app.
I never do to check Google. Okay.
Yes. If you type in the two letters that are the airline identifier and the flight number, so if it's like a Delta flight, it's DL883. Google will give you the time it's leaving. Google will give you that's all you got to do.
That's good to know.
Someone
I
try that
never
right
knew
now.
that. Okay.
Type in the flight identifier, AM 692. It's going to tell you where it is, all the details you need.
That's
And it'll
really good
tell
to
you
know.
the gate. Like when I'm on an airline that is not very responsive and like telling me things, I will do that because I'll be like, it's delayed. And I'm like, oh, the airline didn't tell me it was delayed. Thank you, Google. Now I do try to double check with some kind of airline staff just in case Google's wrong, but Google has never been right. And the airline staff is usually like, girl, I don't know. That's not my flight. Well, who's working this flight? I don't know. You just get zen with it. You get zen with it. If it's not on the board, this is how I feel. If I can't find it on the airport board, they're not leaving me, right? Like they're
right.
not.
That's also very true.
You just keep checking the board. You check the board.
Also very true. Yes.
You sit in the food court. You sit anywhere. You're not waiting at a gate though, because especially if you're there 2 hours ahead of time for your international flight, ain't no gates, big dog. Nothing. You're just chilling somewhere. Find something to do.
And just, lean in, let it go, release, relax, relate, release. Relax, relate, release.
Do something else. Because no. That is I now, as someone who really hated that in Guadalajara, enjoy it in Mexico City. And there's no significant difference in my brain between the two airports. It's just, like you said, my behavior has changed, right? Like I know, even like now, like if they say they're boarding at a time, I'm like, who was I flying with? I was flying with Dara the other day, and my ticket said board. I needed to get to the boarding started an hour and 40 minutes before the flight time, and her ticket said an hour, and we're on the same flight. And I was like, now this is leaving SFO. This isn't even Mexico. But I was like, I'm not like, we chilling. Like this is insane. But like, this is not to speak bad about airline employees, but I just feel like airlines themselves don't know what they're doing. Right. It's not the employees' fault. The airlines don't know what y'all doing?
Right.
What's going on?
Right. What's
in
happening?
Any country.
Exactly.
Yes, just type it into Google search. Whatever your flight is. Google will tell you anything. On the phone, it's amazing.
Yeah, that's a good Google tip. That's a good tip.
It's my favorite. All right. Behavior change. What are some behaviors people should consider when they're moving abroad? Behaviors they might have now, but they should consider before moving abroad.
Okay, so let me make sure I understand this question correctly. Are you saying what types of behaviors should they be doing? What things about themselves should they examine before?
What behaviors about themselves should they examine before moving abroad?
Okay. I think that it's exactly what we've been talking about. Flexibility. Flexibility. I'm saying it 3 times. Like that's how important. That is how important I think that is, that you have got to be flexible. And if you find that you show up in your life most oftentimes and you're not flexible, I would suggest looking into or trying to do the deep dives to unpack that so that you can be in a better position to gain those skills before making a choice such as this. Because I don't think it matters where you decide to go abroad. Your life is going to be different. And I feel like your expectation, all of those things. You about to say something, Rashida? You weren't? Okay. So yeah, I feel like, because there are going to be things that are going to come up that are going to be different than you're used to. Like we've been talking about here, so many different things we've talked about already about just being here in Mexico City, things we've had to adjust to. And if you are typically a person that bucks against having to do things that are different than what's comfortable for you, then I feel like it will be a greater challenge. And so I think really kind of working that muscle as much as you can now or before you move abroad is the thing that's going to serve you best. And I feel like there's reasons why all of us show up in the ways we show up, right? You know what I mean? Like, or why we, feel, because control, I feel like, is comfort for most people. I think it's a false sense of comfort, but it's comfort, it feels comforting nonetheless. And so when you feel like you can have some sort of understanding about what the outcome of things are going to be, there's safety in that. And I think that's why people rest in that space. Okay, my girl.
Okay, so you're muted. We're gonna get her, but if you can hear me, what I would say is that I think you're more generous than I am. I would say that not everyone is meant to move abroad at all stages of their life. Right? So there are going to be times where some people, like it's the behavior change is going to be too great. You know what I mean? Like, I think that there are people who are like, you should stay home right now. Right? Like, but it's not everybody, right? I think there are some people who think they're changing things without actually like changing, or not, who think they're open to change but are not really open to change. Right? I've talked to people after they move abroad and they say things like, they'll say things as I'm talking to them, I'm like, you're not gonna make it, girl. Right? Like, I don't like, I'm not going to say that to you because that's super, super negative. But like, the way you're responding to any kind of adverse situation tells me that like, but you think you're being super flexible, but nothing about what you're saying sounds flexible at all. And so, yeah, I think you're open. The way you phrased that was like, people need to be open to that. I think some people just aren't in different phases.
Agreed. Can you hear me? First of all, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Okay. So agreed. I do agree with you. I do agree with you that not everybody is in that place, right?
Mhm.
Not everybody. When people have an idea about themselves that is sometimes not accurate,
Right.
and they think that they are ready, or they think they're in a place to be able to do something such as move abroad, or they think that they can make themselves be flexible, or they think, oh, let me do the thing and I'll figure out when I'm there, or I can be flexible. So I agree with you. I do think that there's that, um, for sure. And I do think that there is room for
Mhm.
people to also change and to come, be able to build, like I said, the skills to do the things that they need to in order to prepare themselves for such a life change such as this one.
Mhm.
Right. But again, like, only the person themselves know. You know what I'm saying? Like, only that has to be something that they have to come to on their own. Or if they do decide to just show up and see how it goes and figure it out when they're here, that's also a choice that they're making and that they have to make. I think that, however, I just think that you're better equipped that if you're able to be honest with yourself beforehand, things will be it'll be a smoother transition for
Mhm.
you, I believe.
And I think there are people. So I'm one of those people that's like, I visited a few times. The vibes are right. I was like, let's give it a go.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there are people that I encounter, mostly in Facebook groups, that I'm like, you're not the kind of person who should do that, because now here you are, you've moved here, you say you've done your research, you moved here, and you're in this Facebook group again complaining about the noise.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
where can I go that's less noisy?
Right.
Back to America. Like, I don't know
Right.
what to tell you.
Right.
Like, I have a few friends who say they live in a quiet part of town, and I'm like, a quiet part of this town is probably still noisier
Mm-hmm.
than most other towns
Mm-hmm.
in North America, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so it's just, what is your tolerance, right? Like,
Right. It,
what are you open to experiencing,
mm-hmm.
and do you know how stuck in your ways you are?
Right. And I think it's also, when I think about that, I think, because the saying, like, wherever you go, there you are. Right. And so I feel like sometimes it might also be, or the question I might ask someone, if they were to make this choice and not really do the work that they need to personally to be prepared to make the choice, and they've made it, and they come and they say something like, okay, well, why is it so noisy? They've done the research, they've done the thing. My question would be, is it really about the noise?
Ooh.
Because I don't, because I think that sometimes that the things that people will present as the challenge or the issue is a cover for what's really happening. So is it really about the noise, or is it something else? Or are you using the noise so you don't have to really do the work to find out why you're really uncomfortable?
Oh, okay. All right. Um, that's interesting. That's interesting. Because a, a lot of the times when I see people complaining in groups, I'm like, you're just not built for this life, right? And that, and it's not necessarily, there's a difference between like stating this is how the city is and
Mm-hmm.
complaining this is how I wish the city wasn't, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
if I say the city's really noisy and someone else says the city's really noisy, we could mean those in two different ways, right? The city's
Mm-hmm.
really noisy. It's just, it
Mm-hmm.
is what it is. You got to learn to live with it. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Many people don't understand there's a different noise for everything. The
Mm-hmm.
knife sharpener has a noise. The sweet potato man has a noise, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
tamale people sometimes have a different, the
Mm-hmm.
mattress lady has a song.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has their own noise. But that's how you know they're down there, right? Like, that's how you know to go get your sweet potatoes, right? Like,
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
noise serves
Exactly.
a purpose. And the
Right.
cities run like this forever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's
Mm-hmm.
this person who does this thing, make the trash man make a noise. a different
Mm-hmm.
noise. Everybody makes
Mm-hmm.
their own noise. And so it's not just like there's a high noise level,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's like there's purposeful noise, but if you don't understand what it is, a lot of people who come here aren't ingrained enough in the culture to know, but that is the sweet potato man. That loud,
Right.
annoying noise you hear, somebody's running down, right? Somebody about to chase this man down to get a sweet
Right.
potato,
Just
right?
like how we used to do with the ice. That's not how we do with the ice cream truck
Right.
as kids.
But
You know what I'm saying? Like there was a
because you
sound.
don't recognize the noise, it's just annoying to you. It's just like misleading because those people tend not to get immersed enough in the culture to understand what's going on. They want to move here because I heard it was cheap. Joke's on you because it's not.
Right. Right.
Right.
Right. Again, going back to, like you said, the preparation and the
Right.
research. And if you're doing that, if you've done the preparation and research, then, like I said, especially if you say, I knew coming. And listen, I understand, like, there's things you know intellectually,
Uh-huh.
and then you arrive to it and you
Hmm.
experience it, and it's a different sensation. I understand there's
Yes.
room for that. Okay. However, when you're looking at a place like Mexico City and you know, like you said, you've done the research, you've immersed, you know, you've heard, people talk about this, and explain, and you get here, um, and that's still what you're focused upon, then I just want to dig deeper. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to dig deeper. Or if it is a noise, okay, so what's the solution then for you? You know what I'm saying? Like, let's look at
Right.
solutions rather than like, this thing is what it is.
Hmm.
How can we move towards a solution to either make this work for you or figure out a pivot that feels better for you? Because wherever you are, I believe you should. My hope for everyone, my sincere heart hope for everyone is that they can, wherever they are, they can find peace and joy and happiness, and they can live the life that they want to live. That's just, you know what I mean? And of course there's varying things, there's things that we off the face, and I get that. But so how can we move closer to that? And if you've made the choice to come here, then what work can we do to help you stay? Or be okay with going back if
Or
that's
going
also
somewhere else.
better,
Going to a
or
third
going
location.
somewhere else.
So
Absolutely.
I find that a lot of people don't want, not a lot of, there are a number of people who are here because they need to be here for work, or their spouse needs to be here for work, or for some other reason they feel like this is a place they selected, and I see them so often. We're like, I did no research before coming here because what was I going? I got here, the vibes are right. I'm done. Like I'm good, right? But I'm also those people that's like, okay, it's noisy. If I stop, if it starts to bother me, I'll go somewhere else, right? Like it's fine. Or like it takes forever to get to some places. Okay, I just don't go, or I go in off hours, or I do something else. And not everybody has a life that's as flexible as mine, so I totally understand that this isn't going to be for everybody. But I hear people complaining about things, and I'm like, there's no way that you even thought about the country you're moving to for a second. Not even did a lot of research. Like you thought about it for like half a second, or like you've been here and experienced the city, and you're still complaining about things that I'm like, this man wrote a post in one of the groups seriously about how to get the Mexican people he encounters to show up on time for things. And he was like, I was like, wait. He was so serious. He was so like, that's not even research. Like, if you've been here a day, you know why no one's on time. The other day I waited 30, my bus is supposed to come every 8 minutes. I waited 30 minutes. There was no bus. I was late to Spanish class. I made it work, right? But like, my Spanish teacher wasn't like, "How dare you show up late?" She was like, "Hey,"
Right. Right.
like, hey.
Right. 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 Right.
You know what I
But
mean? Like,
again, Rashida, but that's what I'm saying though, Rashida. I
there's
really feel like people that raise things like this, people that just show up,
don't
and
want
it's not about the place. It's about
about the
the
thing.
place. The
But yes,
place.
I get that. I get that that is an internal thing, because there's no way you live. He says he felt like it was disrespectful for everyone to be showing up late to do things. And I'm like, it's cultural.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that isn't offensive to anyone, but it is. It's cultural and it is logistical. Like,
It's definitely logistical, for sure. Absolutely. Yes.
I don't even like, my clean lady comes every Friday. What time is she going to be here? I have no idea. I know when she's here when the key hits the door.
Mm-hmm.
I know she's scheduled to get here at 10, but she always comes early because she leaves enough time, because she don't know what time. She might be here at 9:45 one day. She might be here at 9:15.
Mm-hmm.
She leaves herself enough time to get here on time. I have never said you need to be here by 10.
Mm-hmm.
We picked 10 as a starting point. She shows up whenever she gets here. If she shows up at 11, she shows up at,
Mm-hmm.
she has a key, right? Like, so the
Yeah.
idea that, like, and that's why I'm like, yes, it's internal, but like
Mm-hmm.
that internal isn't necessarily just like you, like you've internal, like that's not just like that's you. You've also internalized the thing and made it personal in a way that like you're
Sure.
not going to be able to survive in a
Sure.
lot of places around the world, right?
Absolutely. Yes. Agreed.
Like this is
Agreed.
being late may be disrespectful in your culture. Being late here is just like, girl, I tried, right? Like,
Right.
I,
Right.
I,
Right.
I remember once, someone was becoming, my landlord put my my apartment on for sale. We're supposed to have some buyers come look at it, but that day, the bus drivers hadn't. The bus rates are set, I guess, by the city or the state. I don't know. And they had negotiated for an increased rate. And I think the bus companies get to, and the bus drivers get that money, but the city sets the rate, is my understanding of it. And so they'd agreed on an increased rate and they hadn't done it. They hadn't increased the rate. So in a lot of places, the bus drivers might have been like, we're on strike. We're not working. But this is Mexico City. So what they did was they took their buses to every major intersection and blocked traffic. That's right. Like, I got that call, like, they're not coming, girl. Like, they just, and the minute I found out, I was like, oh, I'm not leaving the house today. I'm not leaving, like,
Right.
it's because it's such a, like, what other city would they do that? Right. And the police, in a lot of places, the police would be like, you got to move this. The police here are like, whenever there's a protest, police just be here like, okay, I'm here.
Yes.
I'm here, you here. I'm just gonna watch you block the intersection.
Right.
Cool.
Right.
Ain't nobody going nowhere. Okay, cool. Right.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's just what it is. And that is
Yeah.
the nature of the city. And even though we talk about like it being something in you, it's hard. I have such a disconnect with people who want to experience something new exactly as they experience their old, right? Like, I want the new thing, but I want it to be exactly the way my old thing is, because you could just be at home.
Right. But that's the part though, right? That's the behavior change part
Right.
that we were speaking of. You know what I'm saying? Is that
It is the thing, but like they don't seem at all interested in the behavior change, right?
a lot of people aren't. Yeah, a lot of
And
people
so
aren't.
it's like, how do you get there?
I mean, bottom line is there has to be a willingness. You know what I'm saying? There has to be an honesty and there has to be a willingness, because nobody can get anywhere without it. I can't work with anyone that can't acknowledge that there's something to be worked with. I can't work with anyone that doesn't acknowledge that a habit needs to be changed, a behavior needs to be changed, or that there needs to be some building blocks put in place to help you get to a different outcome or different ways in which you show up in your life. Clear, you know what I'm saying? So people that are that way or move or in life or to different places and they, refuse to make shifts or know how to make pivots, like they've made a decision. They've made a decision that who they are and how they show up is how they want to be. It
Yes.
only comes when they decide, you know what, how I'm showing up here and how I'm being is not really serving me. How can I go about changing that? That's the only way that it starts. If that's not there, then there's nothing to talk about.
And it's not there for, like, I'm fascinated when it isn't there. I'm just gonna say that. I'm just fascinated.
Okay.
Like,
You're fascinated when people aren't wanting to change. Is that what you're saying?
yes, when people want like I said, when they want the new country, but they don't want the new experiences, or being really real, the new people, right? You want Mexico, but not with Mexican people, and that's just
right, which is wild. Which is
that's
wild.
Just, good luck, God bless, right? Like,
which is wild to me.
But you see it though, right? You see it.
I do. Like, I've heard people say, Black people in particular say, where are the Black people? They'll come, but I don't see any Black people. I've heard there's Black people. It's Mexico. Yes, we're there. So obviously we're here. There are people here, but I did not come expecting that on every corner I was going to be seeing Black people. Why would I think that? What? That's unrealistic. Like, why would I think that?
So I understand that. The way I experience that is, I heard there are Black people here, and if this was Chicago, I'd have a good idea of what part of town to go on to see Black people. And if this was Columbus, Ohio, I would know what bars or clubs to go to see Black people. So where's the side of town? Where are the bars and clubs? And they don't realize that that is not this, right? Like, that is the way they expect to experience every city that has Black people. And that's just it. It took me 2 hours to go a 30-minute drive the other day. We're not all hanging out in the same place, right? It's not, there is no neighborhood. You're not going to find a bar where you're going to walk in and there are going to be 20 Black people. And if they are, a lot of them are just visitors, right? Like, even if the restaurant or bar is Black owned, a lot of the people there will be visitors.
Right. They're passing through, for sure.
And stopping to see the thing, right?
Exactly. Right.
Adelia raises a great point. America forgets why there are Black neighborhoods. Little spice there, but yes.
I mean,
yes.
I mean, very like there's not a lie told there.
Yes. I hear all the time, like, where do the Black people hang out? And I'm like, at home, or they get together in their cliques, I have no problem with that. Like, they have friend groups, and the friend groups will get together, but there is no like town hall caucus Black people happening once a month that you should make sure you're in town for. And if you're here, come to it, right? Like, it's just, it's like saying we're the Black people in New York, but like with less, like now, right? Like, they're all over the place. But if you cut their numbers by 1,000 or even 2,000, would you see them even if they were in the same locations? You wouldn't see them with any regularity.
Right. So. Yeah. No, I think if you're wanting to move abroad and to just recreate your American experience, it's just not going to work out very well. Like, I think that's not the point. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you're not going to get that.
Right.
You're just not going to get that. And I think being very real with yourself about that is imperative.
Yeah. And there are some, like, I will say, if you are interested in seeing Black people a lot, you want to move out of the States and you want to see Black people a lot, and your first answer isn't to move to somewhere in Africa, if that's not your first answer, I would recommend that your second answer be move to a place where there are already regular Black gatherings. Like in Chiang Mai, Thailand, they do their Sunday dinner every week, right? Whether someone's going to be there, right? The Black people in specific cities do those things. If that's what you want, if just being in the company of Black people is important to you, either go somewhere and start that or go somewhere where it already exists instead of going somewhere and being mad that it's not there.
Right.
Well, if there's so many Black people, how come I never see? I've been here for 2 weeks and I haven't seen any Black people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You hear that a lot.
I see at least one Black person every day. Now, when I'm outside, I'm not outside a lot, right?
Yeah.
When I'm outside, I see at least one Black person every day.
Yeah.
Are they Black American?
That part also.
Are they from a country that automatically acknowledges you because you're Black? Because
that part also, because that is, yes.
Woo. Okay.
Yes.
Right. Like, are they Black American but moved down here because they don't want to talk to other Black Americans?
And that part too. There are some. I'm sorry. I'm just plugging in my headset.
Go for it.
Down here.
You got it.
Okay.
There are so many different types of Black people around the world and in America that you're not necessarily going to run into your type of Black person all the time. Because I be trying to say, like, I am a friend. I see a Black face. I literally don't care whether you say hi back to me. Sometimes I do. But most of the time, I don't care if you say hi back to me. I'm still going to say hi. Because, like, I want you to feel seen. Even if you don't make me feel seen, I want you to feel seen. Right? So I'm going to speak to you.
Yeah.
These men, they are not top tier at that. They are not top tier at acknowledging, no matter what country they come from, that it is not their best quality. Is hearing the hello, the hola, the buenos dias, and responding to it is not.
Now, you talked about earlier the hola, buenos dias. We talked about that a little bit earlier. And I've had a conversation with other friends of mine, other Black girlfriends of mine. And I have asked them here, I said, when you see other Black people on the street, do they speak to you? I've had this, because I was like, is it me? Like, I would, because same like you, I will say hello automatically. I'm doing that in general anyway, right? Black or not, that's truly who I am. But you do kind of have this like automatic, you know what I'm saying? Like, and sometimes I've seen people go out of their way to avoid me.
I got the head turn the other day and I was like,
go out of their way to not acknowledge
something. Like, what? It's fine. It's fine.
So
I'm still gonna get the hello from me. But I tell you,
I'm still gonna say hello, but I'm also built into my mind that I'm probably not gonna get an acknowledgement back. Like, that's been my experience overall.
Black American female tourists are like the number one hitting on returning the hello. And I think it's usually because they're like surprised, like, oh, there's a Black person, right? Like it's like, hey, right? Once we sway outside of that like group that sees me in them, the further we get away from that demographic, the less likely the hello becomes. And I'm just like, it's okay. Listen, you Afro-Mexican, you'll get the hello too. Now, they a lot of times will be like, I didn't see her. She ain't see me. Maybe I see your nose. I see your hair. I know what you is. But a lot of times it's the like, that warmth that I'm used to getting from Mexicans. I do not get it. Not in the city. Not from
I don't. I really
not from Afro-Mexicans in this. Not here. I think in other places in Mexico they're more friendly, but I think here they're like, You too close, girl.
Yeah, no, seriously. And because I really was like, is it me? So I had to start asking around. And they're like, no, girl, it's not just you. It's not just you. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
yeah. I think that the further, like I said, the further they get away from like looking in the mirror when they see me, is the less likely the hello is going to be. It's okay. I wouldn't go and like infect you with anything. It's fine. It's fine.
Right. It's fine. It's fine.
It's fine. But like the head turn, not like most of the time when I get the head turn, it's a man who's like, and not necessarily a Black American man, like Cuban men, the Haitian men, and I'm like, it's cool.
Wow. Yeah, no, it's across the board for me. So I haven't even been able to do a differentiation of anything.
Really?
To me, it's just been an across the board thing. And I just, and so like I said, to your point, expectations of people coming to a place, especially expectations about how you're going to interact, the community you're going to build, the people you'll come across. I think it really kind of released that expectation around that. And your people are going to be your people. The people that you come in contact with, the community that you build may look like you, they may not. And I would hope that you would want to build, a plethora, especially being in another country, that you would want to widen that and broaden that if possible.
Yes.
So I think also, releasing some of that idea or thought about, coming someplace else and trying to have the same type of experience, especially pertaining to community, being open-minded about that is really important.
Yes. Kay said head turn like they ignore it. Yes. Like they like they don't want, they don't want you to say hello to them. It's not that they don't want to acknowledge your hello. They don't even want you speaking to them.
Yeah. It's
that Blackness might rub off.
It's literally like that. No, it's a deliberate ignore. No.
The only reason I know that one of the men I was talking about was Cuban was because I've seen him twice. He's in a Cuban band. So I'm once with Biba and once with Adelia. And each time I've seen him, every member of the band has spoken to me. And every time I look at him, he looks away. And I'm like,
wow.
All of the non-Black Cubanos are speaking to me. Wow. Acknowledge, like walking by me and acknowledging my existence. And your Black ass is like, okay. Sure. I'd love to see you guys perform again. This is going really well. Like, great. Right. Like, okay.
Oh my goodness.
Oh goodness. But yeah, no, it's I think that part of the moving abroad experience has to be you know who you are and can start building with that as the center. Right? Not that I'm going to pop into this already existing group. Right? You don't like other people, right? Like you don't go to that family dinner in Chiang Mai and be like, she say something foul to me again, I'm gonna stab her. Right? You're just gonna, you know what I mean? You're not gonna get along with everybody.
Right. Exactly.
You're not going to, even if you get along with them, you're not going to like everybody. But if you just if your only similarities is we live in this country and we have Black skin and we may or may not be from America, you're not going to like half them people, right? They're not your people.
Right. And that's okay. And that's fine. It's fine.
That's why I started understanding that you are a human and you can start your own thing, whether that is a small social circle or some kind of social event or whatever it is you want to see. Start it yourself. Because thinking that you'll pop into somebody else's and it's all going to be kumbaya.
Right. And I think also for me and my particular experience too, was eye-opening to me. It's like, I'm the oldest person in my friend group. Like the people that I have encountered and the people that I spend most of my time with, I'm the oldest by far, which is also different for me because I grew up most of my life being the youngest in the group. And so now that that's flipped and I'm the oldest, I am definitely the oldest by far for most of the people that I'm with. And that was also another eye-opening thing for me in terms of we're talking about right now, like connection. Like you're not going to connect with everybody, and also you're going to be surprised with the people that you do connect with that you wouldn't necessarily think that you would, because we do, I think, sometimes show up with these preconceived notions about, you know, if a person a certain age, and you're not, what can you relate about, and that definitely was a huge part of my experience. It was like interacting with people that are much younger than I am.
I think some people, when they do their research, they don't take into account that specific cities in specific countries attract specific people. A lot of that is age segregated or age identified, I guess. Like some cities just have, like Panama has an older people vibe, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not seeing a lot of Black women in their late 20s, early 30s moving to Panama City. You see a lot of them moving here, right? Mexico City is a city that I think, and this isn't everybody, but I think that people move here when a lot of people moving here are younger than we are, right? And to other places in Mexico, a lot of people are moving there who are older. The window that we're kind of in, I think more people are trying to build their life at home and they're not as open to moving abroad. There are people like us, right, in our age, 45, 47, who move here, but it's not the same number of people. And so if you want to hang out with people in your age range, you have to take that into account when doing your research.
Yeah, I think so. And I didn't think about that, to be honest with you. I knew that there were Black women within my age range living here. Like I did come across that, of course. I didn't think as much about how much of my experience would be colored by women that are significantly younger than I don't care. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't matter to me personally. It's just, however, it has just been eye-opening. And I'm also thankful and grateful for that, actually, you know, because, and I think it reminds you that age is just a marker of how long you've been walking on this earth, and people's, you know, experiences, somebody's experience at 20, they could have had way more experience at 20 than somebody at 40. It really just depends. And so not basing your interaction with people based on age alone, how rich and colorful that makes your experience, I think, is a really important factor as well.
And I think there's a lot of conversations about how hard it is to make friends once you're like past 30. And I don't necessarily think that is, I think that's true for some people, right? I don't think in general people over 30 have shut off their friend gene, right? Like their desire to have to be in community gene. And so I can't make friends because no one wants friends. I think that it's the situations where we're starting the first day of class and meeting 27 new people and get to pick our 3 favorites out of it as our best friend. We have fewer of those situations now, but we still have those situations as we go through life where we get to meet new people and do new things. And so I think that the way we make friends is different. And the way I think I don't want to say this as an absolute, but I do think that like in moving to a country like this, there's a lot of, I tried this person out. Good day, right? Like I have to go through a lot of that because like I am a person who'll be like, hey, Black girl. Right. And then after like 2 coffees with you, I'm like, oh, I made a mistake. And that's not like I've done this with a Mexican woman here. I was like, oh, I have a new friend. I made a mistake, right? Like, ooh, I missed some signs here. And so I just think that like you have to be open to the like, just like I'm trying new foods and I am figuring out if I like concha or pan de muerto or like all of those things, like let's meet these new people and see how I like them. And eventually you'll have your friend group, but it's not the kind of, like, I know a lot of people move here, like here, and they feel either like they immerse themselves in everything and make all the friends at once, or they immerse themselves in nothing and like have no friends at first. And well, I think both of those are really hard to navigate because people go people, right? And you gotta like
Yes.
be open and flexible, like you said, and learn to pivot around digging up, some muck when you deal with new people.
Right. And that's going to be true. And we know that this is true anywhere you live, states, it doesn't matter. When it
Everywhere.
comes to making friends and vibing with people, that's something, like you said, you learn over time. I do think, Rashida, though, that it is easy, to your point, because you are living a unique experience being abroad and meeting people that are doing the same experience as you, where you might feel like bring them in sooner because you have that
Yes.
immediate connection just by way of that then you do get into quick without knowing, okay, is this person, to your exact point, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And I think the abroad of it all and the shared experience of that piece can
Yes.
make you kind of speed in and not vet as much as maybe you should, as you would at home or anywhere else, because you just are just using the abroad piece and that point of connection as the thing that you try to make the glue without really doing the work to get to know if that's your person or people, you
Yes.
know.
And even in this huge city with a small number of Black people, if you're a Black woman who's friends with other Black women, you don't see somebody you don't like all the time because someone else in your friend group is going to be friends with them, or they're
Yes.
going to go to the same events. And that's
Yes.
just something you have to like, just like that's what happens when you have kind of, I'm going to say closed social circle, even though I don't really mean it like that. But like when you have the bowl of Black people, right? You got the bowl. No matter how you mix the bowl, you're going to be floating next to somebody and be like, oh, it's her again. Er, right? You're still avoiding that. And that's
Yeah.
something you need to get used to as well.
Yes. Yes.
You're
For
gonna be in a
sure.
WhatsApp group with them no matter what.
Yes.
No matter what.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it really, that is definitely an eye opener. But being, like I said, as open as you can about people in general, not limiting yourself. Oh, they're this age. We're not gonna have anything in common. Because,
No.
as a matter of fact, one of my dearest, who's become one of my dearest friends, who I actually lived with initially when I
Ooh.
first moved here, um, is she just turned 24.
Whew. Oh, you mean it. You got them young bucks, girl. Them
She just turned, she
babies.
literally could be my daughter. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Like when you were saying,
Yes.
like literally could be my child. But the thing about it is, because when I first moved here, I was living at a shared a living experience with two other people. And so I was moving in with people I did not know. Like I knew about them, but I didn't know them. And when I when we met, like when she came to the house, because I was there first and she came, we immediately just started talking, just off the bat, just had a great chemistry, and just we talked maybe for 2 hours before we even asked each other how old we were.
Oh.
And we were so taken aback by that, because the fact of the matter is, like, there were so many things we had in common in that conversation without knowing how old each other, like, we were. That like I said, that became such an eye opener and reminder just about life and people. And and also, I've told people this about her a lot. I'm like, listen, the things she was saying to me, or said to me, the conversations I've had with her as a 24-year-old woman, I'm like, if this is where you are at 24, you're gonna be all right. Like, if this is your starting point, you know what I'm saying? If this is where you are, if this is how you're thinking, if this is how you're approaching life, like, and so that to me has also just been so beautiful and enriching, just to see and witness her and her coming into womanhood and being able to impart to her things. And even her, I've learned things from her, even myself being 48 now. the things I've been able to also glean from her.
Mhm.
So it has also been, that has been one of my favorite things too about
Good,
my experience here.
good. Yeah, there are. It's such the city gives you such an opportunity to meet, and most cities will give you an opportunity to meet like so many new people. But you could do this in your home city if you didn't already have the friends you have, right? But because you have
Mm,
friends at home, you
true.
don't need to do any of the going to any events alone where you might end up meeting somebody else who was there alone and making
Yes.
friends, or going to
Right.
like the weekly walk and knowing that when you're on the walk, you're going to talk to some people and make some new friends. Like you don't,
Yes.
and that's I think why when we get down to like why it's harder to make new friends is because you already have friends and you're not doing
Mm-hmm.
the things you would do if
Mm-hmm.
you didn't have friends.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, no,
Absolutely.
I will say that like friend making in most places abroad is easy. Friend keeping isn't always
Mm.
that easy though.
Mm-hmm.
Yoga, the awkward black nomad says abroad friends are easier to cut off though, and she says, but that's because I hop countries.
Mm.
I'm I am very much when I'm not here, I'm not here. It's not the worst.
Really?
It's not that I dislike you,
Yeah.
but like I'll go weeks without talking to my best friend, my best
Mm-hmm.
in the whole planet friend.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody
Mm-hmm.
that I met once when I was
Got
in
it.
Vietnam,
Yeah. Understood.
right? Like, or even if I
Mm-hmm.
really, really like you, it's not personal, but like my phone don't work like that, girl. It just don't.
Right.
Wherever I am is where my attention is, and when I'm not there, my attention won't be there anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Somebody may I ask, may I answer this question about is the young lady a practicing
Yeah.
Buddhist? No, she's not. I just saw that just out the corner of my eye and I wanted to acknowledge that she is not
Mm-hmm.
a practicing Buddhist.
Abba said she didn't have a younger friend group until she moved to Mexico City, and I'm proud to be part of Abba's younger friend group when she lets me be her friend. She also said that she experienced straight up retirement vibes in Chapala and couldn't wait to get out of there. Lake Chapala is a place where you're not going to find a lot of 20-year-olds unless they're visiting their parents or maybe their grandparents, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's just not.
Mm-hmm.
And so these are things to consider when you're doing your research if it's important to you. And I
Mm-hmm.
talked to a woman the other day where it wasn't like she didn't want friends of different ages, but she wanted to do things like go to a bar, right? And she was like, where are women in their 30s and 40s? Because I don't want to be in the club with the young ones, and I don't
Right.
want to
Understood.
be
Mm-hmm.
at dinner and going home at like 8 o'clock, which sounds like a dream to me. But
Mm-hmm.
that's my dream, right? I am your daytime. My white friends know this. I'm your daytime friend. You want to do stuff in the daytime? Holler
Mm-hmm.
at me.
Yes,
There's
I
a
get,
party
yes.
that starts at 10 o'clock. I don't know her.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. I
Mm-hmm.
won't. Unless I'm already out at like 6 o'clock and we're sliding through this party for like 10 minutes, I will
Mm-hmm.
never know what happened at that party. I just,
Yeah.
right? I'm your daytime friend. Invite me to daytime
Mm-hmm.
activities. She wanted
Mm-hmm.
nighttime friends, and she was like, I cannot find them in this city that she's visiting. But like just that visit and just that like lack of I can't find people to do the kind of things I want to do told her that wasn't a city for her to move to. Right? It wasn't that they
Right.
because they weren't the right age to go get coffee with. It was that they weren't the right age for like, the
Mm-hmm.
whatever she wanted to do. They weren't interested in the same things.
Yeah,
So
that's fair. Totally fair. Absolutely.
yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I mean, everybody's gonna have a different thing that they want or that's important
Mhm.
to them, and knowing that. I think that's another good tip. It's like knowing like what are your non-negotiables? You know what I'm saying? Like knowing like what you're looking for, being very solid on what type of experience are you trying to have? What type of life experience are you after in the place where you are trying to be? You know, and from what you have gleaned or from what you've learned, can that place deliver that to you? Like, and what are your non-negotiables, about where you land? Like being crystal clear on those things, I think is another thing that is really important, um, for people to take a look at.
And sometimes people don't know what it is they need to get crystal clear about until they're actually abroad. And that's a part where I'm like, yeah, because I don't, when you've been in the same place your whole life, it's hard to know, like, how you'd respond to something different because you don't know what the difference would feel like, right? It was someone like you said, you've moved a lot in your life, like you know what it's like to give up your whole friend group and start from scratch and start with everything over, right? If you haven't done a bunch of that, like a lot of things about moving, especially to a whole new country, can be really jarring. Because what do you mean I can't get the peanut butter I like? Like, I even now, as someone who's lived in different countries over the years, but I've spent most of my life in America, I still have challenges around comfort things that I can't get here, right? And that comfort thing isn't necessarily a thing, but like some days I just want to walk around Target. And there's no equivalent. Like there's nothing here that feels like one. And even though I know that Target has talked about coming here, I will believe it when I see it. I don't care.
I didn't realize they were talking about that.
They've talked about it, but like they went to Canada and lasted like at max 2 years. So if you if you can't survive in Canada, which is like the United States is like, cousin, sister. I don't see how the shopping dynamic is much more similar in Canada than it is in Mexico. That's why I'm like, y'all can make it in Canada. I don't see how down here, but okay.
Right.
I also don't think we get the same products or you know what I mean? I think it would be a different experience. Anyhow, like there's no equivalent to Target here. And I miss that. Is it enough for me to be whining like I can't live here without, or enough to be like no, but when I go home, I'm gonna slide through Target real quick and just walk through the aisles. Maybe I get something, maybe I don't. there's something about it that is comforting because it's been in my brain since like 84, right? Like I know Target. And those are the kinds of things where like you have to figure out how you're going to adjust to the things you're used to not being around. Because even though like there's some things that are, the way I look at it, I don't know if you feel differently about this, Christa, is that categories of things are easy to find, right? Like lotion is easy to find, but the specific lotion I want today,
right.
If I find it, I'm gonna pay like 3 times the price for it that I would pay.
Yes, right? That is very true.
I can find it. I'm paying it like 3 times the price. But if I'm okay with any old lotion, I can find that anywhere. And it's the same, I would say, for most categories of things and in most countries. You can find whatever you want. Unless it's like you're not the same size or the same complexion as the majority of the people in the country. I want to run that back real quick. If you're not the same size or the same complexion, but the majority that the people think they are, not what they are. You know what I'm saying, Christa?
Yes,
not what they are, but not what they actually are, but what they think they are.
Yes.
And you can have a hard time buying clothes, shoes, makeup, etc. Otherwise, like more generic things, you're generally fine.
Right.
I was in Panama. I passed a makeup thing, and there was not this is not everything in the store. This was just one brand. Nothing was darker than my palm, and I was like, I'm in Panama.
Wow.
Darker than my palm for this specific brand. When I'm walking in the street, I'm seeing me left and right.
Wow. Yeah.
But y'all want to ignore these people. Mexico too, right? Like there are a lot of women who are closer to my face than they are to the palm of my hand, and yet most of the foundation lines ends at my hand, and it's like I see your browner sisters in the street, and y'all are acting sizes. If you wear large sizes, it can be very, very hard in Mexico. There are fat women on the streets, but they're not represented in the stores. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
when you talk about, this is just a minor note, but when you look at, can I buy the things I want in this place? You have to also not take just into account what the people look like,
Mm-hmm.
but what in their imagination they think they look like, collective imagination they think they
Mm-hmm.
look like, because
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
make believe happening, y'all.
Yeah. No, that's those are all very, very, very true and valid points. When you're talking about the choices that you're making about whether or not you're going to go someplace, like the granular things that you can think about, and some of the things like you said that you won't necessarily know until you're actually here. But I think when you're looking at like the broader parts of you wanting to move abroad and live in a different life, like I think that's more so what I'm talking about in terms of like the things that you can do to prepare yourself for
Yes.
the behavior change pieces. It's like the more broader of that, because like starting there, because my thing is like, I would say creating a list of what is it about your life that you like, that you love right now,
Mhm.
right? Like, what is it about your lived experience that feels the best to you?
Mhm.
And then what parts of your lived experience or what you're living right now don't?
Mhm.
What are the things that you would change about that? And then being able to look at both those lists and compare. And then that starts to give you at least a starting point or a blueprint of, okay, this is what I'm living that I love. Would I be willing to trade that for this? If this no longer existed, would I be okay moving here knowing I won't get this, but I'll get this? And
Mhm.
that still feels good. You know what I'm saying? Almost like moving puzzle pieces on a board, right? When you're trying to like build or design a life that feels good to you, that's outside of the current one that you're living, that you've been comfortable with, that you know that all those things, but you know you're like wanting, you know that something is prodding you to make a change and you want to step outside of that. I think those are like good starting points from, like I said, a broader aspect,
Mhm.
because again, like your point, there are things that you are not going to really know until you're there, but these broader points I think help in trying to
Right.
like get you to shape, or a starting point of like looking at, okay, what am I working with, and what am I willing to trade or give up or let go of, or you know what I mean? Like I feel like there's some work that can be done in that regard.
And I think you're right. I think that's definitely work that should be done before, but I also think people overestimate how willing they are to like trade or change things, or have some
Mm-hmm.
people
Mm-hmm.
overestimate, like, I am very flexible. I'm open to all new experiences. And I think people,
Yeah. Yes, yes.
sweetie, that's not what I'm seeing when you're on the ground. And so it's just
Yeah.
really interesting to like watch people in the life cycle, I guess is what we can say.
Yeah, that's what it is. I think you're absolutely right. I think it's why should be of a life cycle. But I think I'm just a strong believer that I feel that when you there's just a life of a philosophy of mine, and something I truly, truly believe, is that when you feel something stirring within you,
Mhm.
about making a change or doing something different, I believe with everything that's within me is that that is there for a reason. There's something within you that's prodding you to do a different thing. Now, again, whether people listen to that or not is a whole other conversation. But I feel like if there's something stirring, my hope is that people allow themselves to at least investigate it. You know what I'm saying? And it may not result in a move abroad. It may not result in a move across the street or you pivoting anything else in your life. I just always encourage people that if they can, to just let it breathe and just see what it has to say to you. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And see what is available and what's possible. Because I don't think it's there. I don't believe it's there by chance. You know, it's there for a reason. And if it's there, then that means that there are also things outside of you that are prepared and lined up to help you move through it, move to it. That's just something I truly believe. Like, that's my philosophy. That's how I just believe that. And I think that if people give themselves more of that opportunity to do that, that all of these things we're talking about, the pivots, the change, all of those things get a chance to come out and breathe. You know what I mean? That's just, I don't know. This is what I feel, what I believe.
You're very like positive people in a way that I think I may have lost that. So tell people how they can work with you if they want some positivity and some help making changes.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Tell them how they can work with you.
Oh, yes. So yes, if people are interested in working with me, they can definitely, so I work with people either one-on-one. I also have a workshop that if people are interested in learning more about what that is, we talk more about these themes. We talk more about how you go from A to B and organizing those steps. They can reach out to me via my website. I do, consultations where people can see if it's, if I'm a fit. But yes, I am that type of person. I'm the type of person where I think I saw a meme of this, like, if you hang out with me, I will get you to think that you can do anything. Like, that's just the type, that's always who I've been. That's inherently who I am. And if you're looking for that, as well as someone that will hold you accountable and help you take a zoomed out view, they can reach out to me and we can talk about that. If that's something that would be a fit for them in the type of coaching that I do. Now, obviously, I'm not a therapist. But I do help people kind of organize the steps in their life and try to figure out how to get from point A to point B, how you take that goal from something that just kind of sitting out there in your mind, how to really harness that and help you create the steps to really make it come into fruition.
Is there a specific step A or a specific step B that you really like working with or you specialize in?
I don't know if I understand the question.
You said you help people to go from step A to step B. And so I'm wondering, is there like an end, like people, I want this end result. And so
oh yes,
I call any coach, I call Christa, or I'm starting with this issue, I call any coach, but instead I call Christa. So is there, is there special?
I see. No, honestly, no, not necessarily. I feel like if you have identified, for me, like if you have identified that, you have this idea, this goal, this vision, this dream that you're looking at, and you want to do it, but you don't know exactly the habits that you need to create in order to make it happen. You just kind of just feel like you need a roadmap. So for people that are looking for a roadmap, I'm your woman to help you to create that roadmap, to get you from, I'm starting from scratch. Like, you could be starting from scratch, or you could be you have an idea what you want to do, and you've kind of gotten on the road, but you feel like you get started, but then life happens and it's easy for you to fall off and you need that added accountability. I'm also someone that helps with that, to add that in so that you can stay on the path once you've on it. So either if you haven't started the path and you need to help getting on it in a roadmap, or if you're on the path and you need more of a detailed roadmap and added accountability, I can help you with that.
That's beautiful. How do you normally spend your days? This is the last question. I'm gonna let you go. How do you normally spend your days in Mexico City?
How do I spend my days? So it really just depends. Usually, I work out pretty much 5 to 6 times a week. So I'm getting in a daily workout, walking. I'm definitely walking every day. Obviously doing some work. I'm doing some work every day. And then, I do want to say this, Rashida. I will say, because this kind of goes along with your question, it's in the month of November. My friends and I coined this last year, and it's called No November. No November. Okay. And what that is that it is a rallying call, if you will, for people to say yes to more things in the month of November than they would say no to. So if there's a new experience, if you wanting to try, or if there's a goal that you want to get started, that November, we're really building intention around saying yes to those things, saying yes to those things that you may have been scared to before, or meeting new people, whatever that is. It's no November. So
No.
to yes, so to that point, like for me this month, I really dig in and lean more into the things I can say yes more to. But yeah, I'm working out, I'm spending time with my friends, I'm trying to get in an outdoor walk most days. And then just, things that come up that feel good that I want to see and want to experience, allowing myself to do that. And so I like that my life has been, it's so varied and different and random, I think more so here than my life in the States. And I appreciate and am very grateful for that.
Good. Do you see yourself here long term?
I do see myself here long term. I did extend my residency in September just for another year. However, the more I'm here, the more I feel like Mexico City may just, I definitely want to travel more. There's still so many other things that I want to do, but I do see Mexico City as of right now, as we speak, being my home base.
Yes. I am. It's the kind of city that like wraps its tentacles around you and like
Yes.
pulls you
Yeah.
deeper in. Thank you so much for being my guest today, Krista.
Thank you for having me,
Bye to
Rashida. Thank
Krista.
you.
And bye to Krista. Thank you so much. And
Bye, everyone.
I will talk to you guys next time. Hang on here for a second,
Bye.
Krista. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Ooh.